Hey, hello everyone. And hello especially to the class of 2020. I've just come from the river where I'm setting up the rafts for your voyage. I have a pre-trip orientation, just take me a few minutes to go through, that begins, oddly enough, with the gonzo journalist Hunter S. Thompson. As was sometimes said of Lord Byron, Thompson was mad, bad, and dangerous to know. How many of you know of Thompson? His book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? The not-so-good movie under the same name, starring Johnny Depp? All right. Well, what you need to know for now is that Thompson was an American writer and provocateur who rose to prominence in the 1970s. In 1974, he dropped this catchy line in an essay he wrote for Rolling Stone magazine. Some of you may know it. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. Where in this case, pro means professional. The essay, Fear and Loathing at the Super Bowl, was another instance of Thompson's lifelong preoccupation with the sheer craziness of the American dream and the sheer craziness of those around the world who would seek to emulate that dream. The essay made a splash, but was soon forgotten. Nevertheless, the line, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro, still pops up in Pinterest posters, essays by first semester college students, and 3 for $10 t-shirts, though rarely in ways that do justice to Thompson as a social critic. You see, throughout his life, Thompson was enraged by the packaged parade of distraction that permeates modern life, by our retreat from authenticity, by the numbing routinization of our souls. He'd be aghast that this crisp line about being different, about being proud of it, has been so thoroughly commoditized. As our world begins to come unglued, as our own habits and routines come under siege, I find myself thinking back to Thompson, to what one reviewer calls his mad, corrosive prose poetry about the lives we're meant to live, rather than the lives we too often get by bowing to our own fears or loathings. I've been thinking too about fear and loathing itself, about how it pulls us down into human ugliness, about how it may be the greatest threat of all to our shared prosperity. And most importantly, class of 2020, I've been thinking a great deal about those 9 words from Thompson's 1974 essay. It feels like those words about weirdness and about turning pro are meant for you. Let's see if I can explain. The first 5 words, when the going gets weird, have rarely been more relevant than today. I mean, after all, we're on the leading edge of a global pandemic and in the midst of the greatest economic collapse of the last century. And it's not one and done with COVID-19. Other forces of global disruption loom large, especially climate change, a clear and present danger spawned by a few and shouldered by many. The great amplifier of inequality and ecological decline. COVID-19 on steroids. You think a global pandemic is rough, climate scientists say? You ain't seen nothing yet. So I'm betting that you'd agree that the going has gotten decidedly weird. Off the charts, red zone weird. And not the cute and endearing weird that we often see on sitcoms. We're talking here about the nasty and dangerous version of weird. The one with teeth. Which means that for you, the years ahead could be tough. It'll be like rafting down an uncharted river of wicked rapids, hidden vortexes, and gnarly surprise. And you won't have the benefit of a knowledgeable guide at the back of the boat because none of us have been down this stretch of river before. You're going to get wet, and it's going to sting. Materially, you're looking at tougher job searches, lower salaries, less accumulated wealth. In a nutshell, less stuff. Ethically, you'll be challenged too. On the riverbanks, sometimes just out of view, inequality will grow and poverty will deepen, assailing your conscience, your commitments to justice, your religious teachings, your moral compass. And you're going to want to do something about it. You will. But then another rapid will appear. And the best you'll be able to do is to grab your paddle, shout out to your chums, paddle furiously, and hope that you don't get tossed from the boat. That's one heck of a graduation present, class of 2020. You don't deserve it. You got here today to this moment because you worked hard, made the best use of your talents, and played by the rules. So hear me please when I say this. I know in my core that you are built for this moment, this river, these rapids, even if you don't yet know it. Life jacket around you and paddle in hand, you will shine. The reason I'm so confident about that is that, simply put, you're weird. Weirdness uncannily matched to the times. The kind of weird that's primed for pro. In a world of sometimes calcified specialists, you are nimble generalists, perfect for the weird times upon us. You are among the few of your generation trained in assessing the big picture, flagging the important bits, and making important connections that elude others. All are essential skills for getting downstream in one piece. Moreover, unlike most of your generation, you are comfortable with ambiguity and confusion, having been repeatedly tossed into the deep end of the pool by profs like me. For you, hard questions that make other students panic are catalysts for curiosity, strategic investigation, inclusive collaboration, and creative problem solving. That's exactly what we need when the roar of an approaching waterfall fills our ears. You're practiced in how to drill deep into a body of knowledge while simultaneously staying open to serendipitous insight that comes from the breadth of your training. That balance, leavened by humility, is going to keep your boat right side up while others are going topsy-turvy. Most important, you care. Questions of right and wrong trouble your sleep, as they should. And community over individual is your frequent choice. That's good, since many of you could be tossed from your rafts and will need big-time help climbing back in. Many of the less advantaged in our community and around the world will be tossed too. They'll also need your help. Now, I know from mentoring liberal arts liberal arts students for the last 27 years, that the full extent of these skills and attributes, these liberal arts powers, remain largely hidden from you. You've been too busy with your coursework and probably too anxious about the future to notice the subtle yet profound changes that your time in the liberal arts has produced. Nevertheless, a special weirdness resides in each of you. When you hit the rapids and get that first bracing slug of water in your face, you'll begin to see how and why you were built for the days ahead. Watch for that epiphany. Invite the abrupt wetness and the rude discomfort. Don't fear it. And when it comes, stay true to your liberal arts commitments and training, and to one another, no matter how drenched or bruised you get. That's how you'll become superbly suited to the waters churning all around you. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. And so it's time, class of 2020, to suit up, get focused, and dial up your game. Find your life jackets and grab a paddle. It's time to turn pro. Your amateur status ends now. I have a bunch of training tips for you, gleaned from the pros already on the river, and trainers who are prepping newbies like yourself. Most of these tips describe how to cultivate and nurture your liberal arts powers for the voyage ahead. And it bears repeating that you're going to need these powers because the water out there is looking pretty rough. You'll find these tips on the web in the Get Weird, Turn Pro section of my website. So check it out and then take a few moments to email me with your own tips. With your permission, I'll post your thoughts to the web and I'll blast them across social media. Let's see what we can together create. Thank you so much, class of 2020, for having me as your speaker. It is a high compliment indeed. You've been handed a raw deal, but you are especially equipped to turn it to your advantage in service of our shared prosperity. So, stay healthy, stay strong, and most important, please, 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 stay weird. I'll see you on the river. Goodbye for now.